To express their individuality or optimize their car's performance, many car owners upgrade and optimize their vehicles. The term JDM appears very frequently when discussing modifications. So what exactly is JDM? This episode of the OYE channel will give you a simple overview of the development of JDM. Get started in 10 minutes. JDM is an abbreviation for Japanese domestic market, which literally means the Japanese domestic market. Simply put, it refers to cars and parts sold in Japan. Initially, JDM didn't have any particular connotation, but as Japanese car culture has developed, its scope has become increasingly rich. To explore its origins, we need to start with Japan's bubble economy in the 1980s and 90s. In simple terms, a bubble economy occurs when the value of assets exceeds that of the real economy. The Japanese government at the time implemented a loose monetary policy, making the Japanese feel wealthy. Naturally, they consumed more, constantly buying houses and cars to improve their quality of life. Astute automakers saw this growing purchasing power and quickly began developing sports cars. This led to a boom in the Japanese auto industry. Familiar models like the Nissan Skyline, Toyota Supra, Mazda RX-7, Honda NSX, and 303K GT are all products of that era. However, the continuous increase in car ownership also led to more traffic accidents. Many people, confident in their sports cars, recklessly drove recklessly on the roads. By the mid to late 1980s, the number of deaths in Japan had risen sharply, a situation known as the Second Traffic War. The Japanese government, realizing this couldn't continue, demanded that major automakers reduce the horsepower of their vehicles to curb reckless driving. Nissan's Ferrari 300 was the first to comply with this policy. The ECX, as its name suggests, was a sports car planned to have 300 horsepower. However, to comply with regulations, Nissan reduced the horsepower to 276, close to 280. After that, a 280 horsepower cap, limiting the speedometer reading to no more than 180 kilometers per hour, became an unwritten rule for every Japanese automaker, the famous gentleman's agreement. Although the car's horsepower was limited at the factory, people's pursuit of speed didn't change. Nissan's affiliated tuning company, Nismo, found a loophole. They discovered that anyone not a member of the Japan Automobile Manufacturers Association could bypass the gentleman's agreement, leading to the release of high-performance models like the Skyline R33 GT-R 420 with 400 horsepower. Compared to the factory version, the 420's engine was enlarged and fitted with a turbocharger used in A1 racing, increasing the maximum horsepower to 400. Although the 420 wasn't sold in Japan, this practice made people aware of the magic of tuning. Later, the racing anime One Eye, the popularity of Midnight and the transformation of the heroic Devil Z into the most terrifying presence in One Eye online game after being modified by the Sword in Hell trainer, have given people a general understanding of vehicle modification. At the same time, famous Japanese tuning brands such as HKS, Grady, and SAD have also pushed the convenience of modification forward, launching many high-performance modification parts for domestic models. Among them, tuning companies represented by RE and Kogyo have even launched a dynamic car modification service. As long as you buy a modification package, the vehicle can be transformed from appearance to performance in a 360-degree all-round way. For a time, car modification became a trend. Car owners' pent-up desire not to buy a car was released. If you buy a car and don't modify it, you might as well push it into the sea. JDM evolved from this. JDM does not have a clear definition. Even local Japanese car tuning enthusiasts find it difficult to explain its meaning. However, one thing is certain, JDM style always adheres to two principles. First, the modified vehicle must be a car manufactured and distributed in Japan. Second, the parts used in the modification must be sourced from Japan. Besides improving the engine and chassis performance, the purpose of car modification is equally important, the car's appearance. Especially after car culture has developed to a certain level, every JDM enthusiast wants their car to have a unique design to showcase their individuality and aesthetics. This is an attitude often mentioned by many car modification enthusiasts. For example, this Red Bull painted Honda Civic has been completely disassembled, fitted with a racing roll cage and lightweight T137 wheels. It's been thoroughly wrecked in a crash. The engine hasn't been significantly strengthened. Only the exhaust has been modified to meet the needs of multiple scenarios and uses. In this wide-body Mazda RX-7, the FD3S, a first-time modification by a master craftsman and skilled artisans, boasts a more aesthetically pleasing and sexy appearance than the original. A carbon fiber rear wing and hood have been added, and after a DCU remapping, horsepower easily exceeds 400. Although it bears the Toyota badge, it's actually a Lexus flagship model, the LS430. Air suspension and large displacement BBS wheels have been added, and the car has been lowered as much as possible, giving it an imposing presence. This is a popular modification style among Japanese Yakuza bosses, known as the VIP style. The most extreme examples of this style are the Bossazoku motorcycle gangs, whose cars feature extremely exaggerated body kits, front bumpers as large as balconies, and skyrocket-style exhaust pipes, one of their trademarks. Some of these vehicles even generate sparks when rubbing against the ground. In Japanese anime, we often see arrogant young men with bun-shaped hairstyles. These are classic Bossazoku images. These are all JDM, Japanese luxury car modifications. For those with money, there are ways to play. For those without, there are ways too. What types of modification parts are used? There are cars at all price points. You can modify a car to go mountain racing or to go grocery shopping. Even a small DIY project results in a unique car. Besides modification culture, JDM culture has branched out into more subcultures, such as mountain racing culture and drifting culture. Due to its unique geographical location, Japan has many rugged mountain roads with numerous U-turns and continuous ridges. If you drive with normal grip, your speed will drop significantly. However, by letting the rear of the car drift before entering a corner, you will have a higher exit speed. This is drifting. To perfectly utilize this technique and pursue agile handling, JDM cars are the best choice. High horsepower cars from Europe and America cannot be driven quickly. Speaking of this, we must mention the drifting king, Tsuchiya Kichiro. Many people's JDM Enlightenment anime, Hieromonde D, is adapted from Tsuchiya's life. He and many Japanese racing drivers brought the drifting technique to formal racing, which led to the famous Grand Prix. Of course, there's also the highly controversial street racing culture, most notably the high-speed racing on loop lines and sloping edges. We'll discuss this in detail in the next episode. When JDM culture crossed the ocean to the United States, Americans developed it into USDM, a style more suited to their national conditions. USDM isn't based on US-made cars, but rather on JDM models, using American-made parts and adding many other elements. Therefore, USDM is more diverse than JDM, a point clearly evident in the speed and model categories. Besides the US, JDM culture has also influenced our domestic market, with examples like the 8th generation Honda Civic, modified into an FD2 type. There are numerous examples of Toyota Crowns modified to Japanese specifications, 184, not to mention Hong Kong. Without a cultural foundation, it would have been impossible for Huanya Film Company to produce a top-tier version of Tao Wenxi's earthquake movie, Guangdong, which is even jokingly referred to by car enthusiasts as a paradise for Japanese cars. After the implementation of the Gentleman's Agreement, the number of deaths from car accidents in Japan did show a decreasing trend. However, this was a combined result of continuously improving transportation infrastructure, increasing public safety awareness, and rising vehicle safety, and had no direct causal relationship with the horsepower of the car. With the introduction of large displacement models from Europe and America, Japanese automakers quickly realized that their sports cars were not competitive compared to their European and American counterparts. Therefore, this horsepower cap was officially lifted in 2005. However, since the bursting of the Japanese economic bubble, many Japanese automakers no longer spend a lot of energy and money on car research and development. Therefore, the glory of JDM Japanese domestic market was forever frozen in the 1980s and 90s. Now, Toyota's great 2JZ engine is old, and Mazda's rotary engines that should be scrapped have already been scrapped. Although Japan has entered a low material era and the era of electric vehicles has arrived, JDM is slowly declining. Although Nissan has revived the 400Z and Toyota has expanded its GR family, the current JDM scene is vastly different from the explosive growth of the 1990s. Perhaps all that's left of JDM in the future is nostalgia. JDM is like a seed, planted in the hearts of different people, in its own unique way. Regardless of your profession, once you delve into it, you'll gradually fall in love with it and become deeply immersed in it. Even if JDM may not be as glorious in the future, it will remain a beacon in the world of car modification. And this legendary story about JDM will live on forever, in everyone's hearts, and hopefully, it will live on in yours as well. This late night channel